During World War II, engineers studied every bomber that made it back from a mission and mapped exactly where the bullet holes were. Most of the holes clustered around the wings and the tail, so the obvious plan was to add armor right there. A statistician named Abraham Wald looked at the same data and said no, put the armor everywhere the holes aren't. Because the planes that got hit in the engine or the cockpit never made it back to be studied at all. The data wasn't showing which parts got hit the most, it was quietly showing which hits you could survive. That's the trap almost every conversation about luck falls into. We only ever get to study the people who made it back. Which means the book that finally explains why some people keep getting lucky isn't really a book about luck at all. It's a book about the wreckage nobody ever thinks to study, the failed attempts, the near misses, the identical bets that didn't pay off, sitting just outside the frame of every success story we're told. I ranked these 10 books by how much they actually change how you understand the luck already running your own life, not by how many copies they sold. And for each one, I'm going to break down the actual ideas inside. Not just the title and a one-line summary. And the number 1 pick isn't a book about luck at all. Number 10. The Luck Factor by Richard Wiseman. Wiseman's core argument, built from a decade running actual psychological experiments on people who called themselves lucky or unlucky, is that luck isn't random at all for the individual experiencing it, it's a set of specific, learnable behaviors that quietly change how often opportunity gets noticed and acted on. His key concept is the 4 principles of luck. Maximizing chance opportunities by staying open and building a wide, relaxed network instead of a narrow one. Listening to lucky hunches by trusting intuition enough to actually act on it. Expecting good fortune, because that expectation itself changes how persistently someone keeps trying. And transforming bad luck into good by reframing a setback as an opportunity instead of confirmation that the world is against them. A concrete example he gives. Wiseman hands both self-described lucky and unlucky volunteers the same newspaper and asks them to count the number of photographs inside it, and buried on one of the early pages is a half-page message in giant type reading "Stop counting. Tell the experimenter you've seen this and win $250. The unlucky volunteers, heads down and narrowly focused on the counting task, walked right past it almost every time, while the lucky volunteers, scanning more broadly out of habit, noticed it almost immediately, proving the luck wasn't in the newspaper at all, it was in how each person was already looking at the world. Link to grab this one is in the description, timestamped below. Number 9. How Luck Happens by Janice Kaplan. Kaplan's core argument, built from interviewing scientists, athletes, and business leaders alongside researcher Barnaby Marsh, is that luck behaves less like a lightning strike and more like a partnership. Chance events happen constantly around everyone, and what separates the lucky from everyone else is how much surface area they've built for those events to actually land on. Her key concept is luck surface area. The idea that the number of chance opportunities that ever reach you scales directly with how visible, connected, and exposed you've made yourself, not with how talented or deserving you happen to be. And Kaplan argues most people wait passively for a lucky break while quietly shrinking their own surface area, staying inside the same small circle of contacts and routines where nothing new can ever reach them. A concrete example she gives. Kaplan revisits sociologist Mark Granovetter's famous research into how people actually find jobs, and discovers the strongest leads almost never come from a person's closest friends. They come from weak ties, distant acquaintances who move in different circles entirely, because close friends already know the same information and the same people you do, while a weak tie is effectively a doorway into an entirely different network of chance you'd otherwise never touch. What makes this book different from The Luck Factor is that Wiseman is diagnosing the internal psychological habits that make someone more likely to notice an opportunity, while Kaplan is showing what happens on the outside once those habits are in place, how a wider, looser network turns a single noticed opportunity into an actual break. Link is in the description. Number 8. The Success Equation by Michael Mauboussin. Mauboussin's core argument, built from his career analyzing markets, sports, and business performance, is that almost no outcome is purely skill or purely luck. Every result sits somewhere on a continuum between the two, and the real skill worth developing isn't achieving the outcome, It's correctly figuring out where on that continuum a given result actually sits. His key concept is the skill-luck continuum. And the fastest way to locate a result on it is regression to the mean. The more luck involved in an outcome, the faster performance snaps back toward average the next time around, while genuine skill tends to persist. Wiseman argues most people quietly assume high-stakes outcomes are mostly skill, because admitting otherwise feels uncomfortable, when a simple statistical test would tell them exactly how much of the story luck was actually writing. A concrete example he gives. Wiseman tracks the top-performing mutual fund managers in a given year and checks how many of them repeat that top decile performance the following year, expecting some consistency if genuine skill were driving the results. Almost none of them repeat it. The standings reshuffle almost completely from one year to the next, revealing that a result the financial press had already started calling genius was, statistically, barely distinguishable from a lucky year. What makes this book different from How Luck Happens is that Kaplan is focused on maximizing your exposure to chance before an outcome happens. While Wiseman hands you the actual tool for judging, after the outcome already happened, how much of it was luck and how much of it was really you. Links in the description. Number 7. Bounce by Matthew Syed. Syed's core argument, built from his own career as a champion table tennis player and years investigating what actually produces elite performers, is that what looks like natural talent, or a lucky roll of the genetic dice, is almost always hidden opportunity in disguise, and once you trace a gifted person's story back far enough, you usually find an ordinary accident of circumstance that gave them a running head start. His key concept is opportunity plus purposeful practice. Talent isn't randomly scattered across the population, it clusters wherever a rare combination of access, resources, and expert coaching happens to cluster first. And Syed argues the luck of being born on the right street or near the right coach ends up looking, decades later, indistinguishable from raw natural ability. A concrete example he gives. Syed traces his own remarkable run of British table tennis champions back to a single ordinary street, Silverdale Road, where a local school happened to have a hall with a table tennis club that stayed open late every night, run by a teacher obsessed with the sport. An entire cluster of national champions came out of that one street, not because the neighborhood was full of prodigies, but because a handful of kids had thousands of extra hours of practice available to them before anyone else in the country even had a table to play on. What makes this book different from the success equation is that Wiseman gives you a way to measure how much luck was in a result after the fact. While Syed shows you how a lucky circumstance quietly gets converted into real skill in the first place, which is exactly why it stops looking like luck by the time anyone's paying attention. Link is in the description. Number 6. Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Taleb's core argument, built from his own career as an options trader watching supposedly brilliant colleagues blow up overnight, is that in any noisy, high-variance field, a large enough group of people making random decisions will always produce a handful of geniuses purely through survivorship, and the financial press will happily write their biography without ever checking the math. His key concept is alternative histories. To judge whether a decision or a track record was actually good, you have to imagine every other path that random chance could have taken, not just the single path that happened to occur. And Taleb argues most success stories only ever show you the one path that survived, while quietly erasing every identical bet that failed and never got a magazine profile. A concrete example he gives. Taleb imagines 10,000 investment managers each flipping a coin once a year. Heads they beat the market, tails they don't, with the losers quietly dropping out of the pool each round. After 10 years of pure coin flips, a handful of managers will have won nearly every single year in a row, and Taleb argues those survivors will be interviewed, celebrated, and paid enormous bonuses for a skill that, mathematically, was never actually there. What makes this book different from Bounce is that Syed is showing how a genuine, real skill quietly grows out of an early lucky break. While Taleb is showing the opposite danger, how the complete absence of any real skill can still produce a track record that looks exactly like genius, purely because of who happened to survive the shuffle. Links in the description. Number 5. The Drunkard's Walk by Leonard Mlodinow. Mlodinow's core argument, built from his background as a physicist studying random processes, is that far more of daily life runs on randomness than people are willing to accept, and the brain is so committed to finding a causal story in everything that it will manufacture one out of pure statistical noise rather than admit an outcome was simply chance. His key concept is the random walk. Like a drunk stumbling down a street, each individual step is unpredictable, yet looking backward at the whole path, it's tempting to narrate it as a deliberate, meaningful journey. And Mlodinow argues this is exactly how people misread their own careers, relationships, and reputations, reading purpose and skill into a sequence of steps that was mostly noise the entire way through. A concrete example he gives. Mlodinow cites wine researcher Robert Hodgson's study of professional competition judges, who were secretly served the exact same wine twice, poured from the same bottle, within the same tasting flight. The very same judges, in the very same sitting, rated the identical wine wildly differently each time, a spread wide enough to swing a medal either way, proving that even trained experts were mostly reacting to statistical noise while feeling completely confident it was refined judgment. What makes this book different from Fooled by Randomness is that Taleb builds his case almost entirely inside finance and trading, while Mlodinow generalizes the exact same random walk math across wine judging, movie studios, and everyday careers, showing it isn't a quirk of Wall Street, it's just what any noisy system does by default. Link is in the description. Number 4. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Gladwell's core argument, built from investigating the childhoods and timelines of extraordinarily successful people, is that individual merit alone has never been enough to explain extreme success. Every outlier's story is actually a story of hidden advantages, timing, and culture that compounded quietly over years until the original lucky break became invisible. His key concept is accumulated advantage. A small initial edge, often handed out almost arbitrarily, attracts slightly more attention, resources, and practice time, which produces a slightly better result, which attracts even more resources next time, compounding a tiny head start into an enormous gap. Gladwell argues that by the time an outlier is being celebrated as uniquely gifted, the original lucky break is buried so deep under years of compounding that even the outlier themselves usually can't see it anymore. A concrete example he gives. Gladwell examines the birth months of elite Canadian junior hockey players and finds an overwhelming cluster born in January, February, and March, the months right after the youth league's age cutoff. Those players were simply the oldest, biggest, and most physically developed kids in their age bracket every single year, which meant more ice time, better coaching, and all-star teams, compounding what began as a random accident of a calendar into what looked, 20 years later, like pure natural talent. What makes this book different from The Drunkard's Walk is that Mlodinow shows randomness inside single, contained events like a wine tasting or a movie's opening weekend, while Gladwell shows how a single random advantage, left uncorrected, compounds across an entire lifetime into something that eventually looks nothing like luck at all. Links in the description. Number 3. The Formula by Albert Laszlo Barabasi. Barabasi's core argument, built from his research as a network scientist mapping how success actually spreads, is that once a field becomes hard to measure objectively, your own performance stops being the main driver of your success. The network deciding who gets seen and amplified takes over instead. His key concept is preferential attachment. In any network, a person or idea that gets even a small early boost of attention becomes more visible, which makes it more likely to get chosen again, which makes it more visible still. The network mathematically favors whoever is already ahead, regardless of whether they were actually the best. Barabasi argues this is why performance predicts success cleanly in measurable fields like sprinting, where the clock doesn't care who you know, but breaks down almost completely in fields like art or music, where quality can't be measured at all and the network quietly decides for everyone instead. A concrete example he gives. Barabasi studies auction prices across the art world and finds that two artists of comparable skill can end up on wildly different financial trajectories depending on nothing more than which handful of prestigious galleries first agreed to exhibit their early work. Once a small number of elite, well-connected galleries pick up an artist, museums and collectors who trust those galleries follow, and the artist's prices cascade upward. A lucky first connection, not a leap in talent, is what actually launched the trajectory. What makes this book different from Outliers is that Gladwell traces accumulated advantage through a single person's personal timeline of birthdays and practice hours, while Barabasi zooms out to the network itself, showing the mathematics of who gets chosen operates almost independently of any individual's actual story. Link is in the description. Number 2. Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Taleb's core argument, built once again from his years as a trader, this time focused on how to actually position yourself for an unpredictable world, is that trying to predict or avoid bad luck is the wrong goal entirely. The smarter move is building a life or a portfolio that doesn't just survive disorder, it actively gains from it. His key concept is anti-fragility. Distinct from mere robustness, which only survives a shock unchanged, an anti-fragile system gets stronger from volatility, mistakes, and randomness, the way a small, flexible business can pivot and profit from a crash that bankrupts a larger, more stable competitor. Taleb argues the practical version of this is the barbell strategy, keeping the vast majority of your bets extremely safe while putting a small slice into high upside, cap downside experiments, so that lucky breaks have room to pay off enormously while unlucky ones can only ever cost you a little. A concrete example he returns to. Taleb points to how many major breakthroughs, penicillin, X-rays, several major drugs, were never the result of a single predicted bet at all. They came from researchers stumbling onto something valuable while trying to solve a completely different problem. Because those researchers were structured to run many small, cheap experiments instead of betting everything on one predicted outcome, when luck did strike, they were positioned to actually catch it instead of missing it entirely. What makes this book different from the formula is that Barabasi explains how the network itself distributes luck to some people and not others, while Taleb explains how to personally structure your own bets so that no matter which way the network's luck happens to break, you're set up to benefit from it rather than be crushed by it. Link is in the description. And number 1. Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Unlike every other book on this list, this one isn't a book about luck at all. It's a work of behavioral psychology, built from Kahneman's decades of research, alongside Amos Tversky, into the actual machinery that decides how the mind processes an outcome, whether that outcome was earned or simply handed to us by chance. Kahneman's central claim is that the mind runs on 2 systems, System 1, fast, automatic, and always ready with a confident story, and System 2, slow, deliberate, and usually too lazy to check whether that story is actually true. His key concept, for this list, is hindsight bias paired with the law of small numbers. System 1 retroactively rewrites a random outcome as something that was predictable all along, the moment it already knows how the story ends. And it draws sweeping, confident conclusions from far too little data, mistaking a short lucky or unlucky streak for a real, stable pattern. A concrete example he returns to. Kahneman studied flight instructors in the Israeli Air Force who were convinced that praising a pilot for an excellent landing made the pilot's next landing worse, while harshly criticizing a poor landing made the next one better, so the instructors concluded criticism simply worked better than praise. What was actually happening was regression to the mean. An unusually good or unusually bad landing is, by definition, unusual, and the very next landing tends to drift back toward that pilot's normal average regardless of what the instructor said or did in between. The instructors had built an entire training philosophy on a pattern that was never really there. What makes this book the definitive number 1 on this list is that every other title here is teaching you how to notice, create, or position yourself for luck. Kahneman is explaining the underlying hardware that decides whether you'll even recognize luck when it happens, or quietly rewrite it afterward into a story about skill you never actually had. Link is in the description. The number 1 pick proves something simple. A method can tell you how to put yourself in luck's way more often. Only an understanding of how your own mind rewrites good and bad breaks afterward tells you whether you're actually getting luckier, or just getting better at telling yourself a story about it. Which of these have you read, and which one changed how you think about luck? Drop it in the comments. This is Toon Review, now go be rare. Go be a golden black llama. See you in the next video.